Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
It has been one of those weeks that has the likes of us slightly tearing our hair out. First, the Prime Minister warned we might drift into war if we left the EU, a claim that appeared to come from nowhere and to have only the most limited of rationales behind it. And today, Boris Johnson launched the so-called Boris bus with a claim on its side which has been ruled incorrect by, amongst others, the UK Statistical Authority. So, was he prepared to admit it was misleading? Well, I gave it a go. Only a cynic would say he had half an eye on the future.
The pasty of independence.
It was launch day for the so-called Boris bus, though, to be fair, he was on it with Labour Eurosceptic Gisela Stewart. But the unofficial leader of the Leave campaign was in trouble almost immediately for this claim on the side of the bus. It may be worth reminding ourselves why. The suggestion, as you can see, is that we send £350 million a week to the EU, which could be spent on the NHS. But it's important to recall that the UK does get a rebate as well as money back in grants, which leaves the real figure at around £161 million a week. So was he prepared to admit this was all more than a bit misleading? Let's deal with your arguments. One of them is on the side of this bus. We send 350 million to Europe. We don't, and you know we don't. No, we don't. You know we don't.
No.
Admit that figure is grotesquely misleading at best.
I won't. I'll tell you why not. Because that figure represents accurately the gross sum that is sent.
But the gross sum is meaningless. You've got the rebate, you've got the public subsidy. So the true sum is 161 million, as best as anyone can get to it. Right.
Which is not in itself to be sneezed at.
Okay, but that is the right figure.
Let me tell you why.
So you're wandering around this country with a dirty great lie on the side of your bus?
No, because that gross figure is the right figure. I'll tell you why. Two reasons. First of all, yes, we do get some of it back, but we get it back
nearly half of it back.
At the discretion of EU officials who decide how they're going to spend UK taxpayers' money in the UK, when I think many people would think it would be better if we in this country had control of money.
But Norway...
Secondly, I'm going to give you another point, which is I think you might slightly agree with, which is that that figure also includes the abatement. And the difficulty with the budget rebate that was first secured by Margaret Thatcher in the 1980s is that it has now itself been abated, and the basis for it has been undermined. So it's no longer set in stone, and we have to negotiate.
But you can't expect to win if your arguments are ludicrous, and you know this one is ludicrous. First of all, the figure is wrong, and secondly, even Norway, which is out, has to make a contribution, which in net terms is very similar to ours. So this is a misleading argument. That's all I'm asking you to admit.
No, I won't say that. I think it's important that people understand that is the global figure, the gross figure, but it's to put it in net terms, which I think anybody can contest. Net, so leaving aside the rebate and the stuff we get back, we send over £10 billion a year we never see again.
Okay.
And that £10 billion is not an insignificant sum.
I just want to focus on the true figure is 161 million, correct?
No, the true figure is 350 million.
In net terms, the real figure is 161.
If you take out the abatement and the money that comes back, the UK money that comes back via Brussels, the figure is obviously lower, but we think it relevant to keep people focused on the global figure,
the gross figure,
because that is the figure over which, this is the key point, we have no control.
Okay, you've been around the houses on this before, and I suspect we will do so again. But lastly,
am I paralysing you?
No, I wouldn't say that. But lastly, all I would say is this feels like a general election on a leaders' bus. Is that?
This is a red. You'll notice
we feeling this is a bit of a
This bus
dress rehearsal.
This is a red bus, as Gisela Stewart has rightly pointed out. This is a red bus. It is not party political.
So there we have it, all completely clear. Or we don't have it, depending on your point of view. And on the subject of contested arguments, details have been released tonight of a big event here on ITV hosted by Julie. David Cameron and Nigel Farage have confirmed they will take part in the first live leaders event ahead of the referendum. Our political correspondent Libby Wiener is here. Well, Libby, maybe just should we start with the facts? What is actually going to happen?
Well, we are being told that this is perhaps the biggest political decision that any of us will take in our lifetime, so quite important to be well informed. And I think this programme is going to be a seminal moment in this referendum campaign. We have Nigel Farage arguing for the Leave side, followed by David Cameron arguing for us to remain inside the European Union. It will be questions from the audience, not an actual head-to-head debate, and it'll be moderated by Julie Etchingham. The programme goes out on the 7th of June at 9 o'clock. Now, 2 days later, there are plans for another programme which will involve 3 politicians from each side of the argument. That will be a straightforward debate. I understand that for the Leave side, the man you've spent rather a lot of time with today, Boris Johnson, has been approached. We don't know yet whether he's going to say yes.
This was so agonising getting it all organised in the election, wasn't it? I don't get the impression this has been that easy either.
No, I remember week after week in the run-up to the general election, we kept asking David Cameron whether he would take part in a TV debate. He seemed to be anxious to sidestep the question. Always, eventually, he did take part in one debate here on ITV, and not many people thought it did him much good. The added problem he had this time was that there was this big split in his own party. So the possibility was there that he would have to go head-to-head with another leading Conservative, perhaps Michael Gove. He really didn't want to do that. But it's just worth remembering that when Boris Johnson was asked about this earlier this year, he also said he didn't want to take part in loads of TV debates up against other members of his own party.
We will see. Libby, thank you very much indeed.
I've been getting away with it all.